And last but, of course, not least, Tom Lockyer, Luton Town captain, the man who helped guide this team back to the Premier League, back to the top division for the first time in over 30 years. Welcome to you all. But of course, with Tom, it is half the story, because Tom's dream debut season in the Premier League almost had a tragic end when he collapsed on the pitch at Bournemouth 2 months ago. But we are delighted that Tom is with us here this afternoon, on his feet, and I'm pleased to say, well on the way to recovery. Tom, it's great to have you with us. The first question, the obvious question is, how are you?
No, thanks. I'm doing well. I really am. Obviously, I'm incredibly lucky to be stood here and be in such good spirits. But no, Dave, really, I am really well.
Were you aware of the kind of the feeling, not just amongst Luton fans, but across all of football, that was really waiting with bated breath for any news, any kind of announcements that were coming out of this football club?
Yeah, and it's not something that happens every day, is it? So the eyes of the world were almost on us. So yeah, it was nice to be able to come out and say I'm doing well. I think everyone deserves to know that and see me doing really well. So yeah, I can't lie, it has been a tough couple of months, but yeah, I am well.
Take us back to that day, Tom. I mean, we all, I think, remember where we were when news broke that the game had been stopped first of all, and then latterly abandoned, with the game at 1 apiece. What do you remember about that day, and what have you been able to piece together subsequently about exactly what happened?
I wish I could tell you, to be honest, because obviously since I've been looking back, could it have been this, could it have been that? But it was just a normal day, and that's probably the most worrying thing about it is, I felt completely fine. So yeah, like I said, I've been looking for answers, searching for answers, but as far as I was aware, it was just another normal day at the office, and it was all going well until what happened.
And tell us about exactly what you have been told since of what happened. You went down. You don't remember anything of that?
So I was running up to the halfway line, and I went really lightheaded, and I remember thinking, I'll be okay in a second, and eventually I wasn't, and I woke up, and the paramedics and everyone was everywhere, and obviously it was well documented. It happened back in May as well, but I knew instantly this time was different. Last time I woke up from almost a dream, and this time I woke up from a nothingness, and I could see straight away that the paramedics and the physios, the club doc and everything, there was a little bit more panic around, and I was a bit disorientated. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, and I was just trying to take in trying to work out what was happening. And while that was going on, I remember thinking, I could be dying here, and it's quite a surreal thought to have, thinking that and not being able to move and respond, and you can see the panic that's going on. I could feel them putting the drip in my arm, and it was all quite a hard mix of emotions. And eventually I came round and I was able to speak and to respond, and once I came round and I felt okay, it was almost a relief that I'm alive. Obviously, I'm really fortunate it happened where it happened. But for me, I was just living it, and almost feel that everyone watching it, and especially my family, have almost had it worse than I have.
Your heart stopped?
Yeah, so after what happened in May, I have a little recording device under the chest, and 2 minutes 40 I was out for, and I needed to have the defib to shock me back. And obviously, massive thank you to the paramedics, the club docs, everyone who was involved that day, because without them, I wouldn't be standing here.
Was it the speed of their actions then, the people around you, that saved your life?
Yeah, without a doubt. And we've had success stories in the past before, obviously Mwamba, Eriksson, and maybe just the advances in the technology and the awareness to it all now. But this was the quickest one that has happened, and I'm forever grateful to that. The hardest thing, obviously you can do all the training in the world, but I think when I've spoke to them and they said the hardest thing was them knowing me as a person, there was real emotion involved with everything that was going on.
You had family there at the game as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so my old man was there and my girlfriend was 7 months pregnant at the time, so instantly that's where my thoughts go. Like I said, I kind of just woke up, and as soon as I got my bearings, I was okay. I felt fine. I didn't have any soreness, any more lightheadedness, any pain, so I was just fine. And obviously for them having to watch that, my mum was at home listening on the radio with my brother, and it was after Bournemouth scored. She was in a little bit of a fit, went out and made a cup of tea, and when she came back, my brother had turned the radio off, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And he had to say to her, "Oh, Tom's gone down off the ball again." So it's things like this which is the bigger picture that I think a lot of people don't see, and that's probably the hardest thing to deal with is that side of it.
As you said, it has happened to other people, and they have lived to tell the story. Some have even got their playing careers going again. Christian Eriksen, who we might well see here later this afternoon, 8 months after he went down in the Euros, was back playing for Brentford. Did any of these guys reach out to you to share their stories with you, their experiences?
Yeah, they've all been brilliant. I've spoke to Christian, Daley Blind and Charlie Wyke, who have all had similar heart-related conditions, and the one thing that was the common theme with them all was take your time. Really just take your time to process what's happened. And in a way, I don't know whether I have processed what's happened, but maybe because us as athletes, we're able to deal with things a little bit differently. We can compartmentalise, and I don't know whether it might come back and bite me on the bum, but I've not really had any emotions since what's happened. Obviously, I know I literally died, but I've been quite numb to the whole thing since. But yeah, them guys, the common thing there was take your time with things, make sure you do what's right for you and your family. And like I said, my girlfriend, 7 months pregnant, baby's due now in 10 months, and that's where my priority is at the minute.
Tom, when you see those pictures of Christian Eriksen running back on the pitch, does that make you think that's what I want to do? Or are you thinking to yourself, well, I nearly died on the football pitch. I've captained Luton in the Premier League. I've scored a goal in the Premier League. I've achieved so much that, no, I'm done now. Or do you still want to play again?
I think that's out of my hands to a certain degree. Obviously, we're going to be dictated to by the medical staff and the specialists. But what I would say is, if there is a chance I could play again, obviously I'm not going to do anything against any of the specialist recommendations. Then I would love to. Obviously, it's far too early to say at this time. There's a lot more tests and things that need to happen in the background. But yeah, I wouldn't just write it off at the minute. But like I said, my priority's with the baby and like the medical staff.
And doing a bit of punditry with us. And it suits you, mate. It suits you.
Nowhere else I'd rather be, really.
Good man.
How did it feel going back to the training ground for the first time and seeing your teammates who'd almost been through that experience with you, Tom, as well?
Yeah, it was good. It was really nice to go in and see the faces, and you get a little lift from that. But at the same time, it was hard because I was back in amongst it and I wanted to be involved in that way. And I remember sitting in on the meeting before the Brighton game and thinking, if I ever have to sit in on a meeting again, and I'm never going to take it for granted, because you know what it's like when you have meeting after meeting when you're playing, that sometimes you just sit there and you're like, oh, another meeting. And I remember just sitting there thinking, I wish this was applying to me. So it's like what Jamie said. Obviously, if the medical stuff comes back and I'm not allowed to play again, then I have to look at it as, I have captained Luton in the Premier League and I have scored a Premier League
goal.
goal.
You scored a Premier League goal at Everton. That must have been right up there as your special moments in your career.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm very fortunate. I've had a lot of high moments in my career, but that is certainly up there. That is something you dream of as a kid. And what a knee slide as well.
Yes.
Look at that. Go on, the boys.
Yeah. And how's the gaffer been? He seems like an incredible, not just manager, but a human being as well.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't speak any higher of the man if I tried. I know the lad's joke, but everything I do at the minute seems to make him cry. So he's been getting a little bit of stick from the lads, but that just shows the incredible human that he is, and he's got a family first mentality within the club, and that the club had that anyway, but he's just come in, reinforced it. His family before everything else, and he's been up to the house to see me and the family, and yeah, and it just shows the incredible human he is, and it makes you want to run through brick walls for him. Obviously, it's a bit hard for me to do that at the minute, but if I could support him in any way, then I'm going to try and do that.
You talked about, being in the meetings and never taking those for granted again, Tom, but how else has this experience changed your perspective on life?
It's hard to really say at the minute. Obviously, I'm incredibly grateful to be alive, and that's a given. But I've got my device fitted now, and it's a weird one. I almost feel invincible. I know we were talking earlier.
So that's so to just explain, that's like an inbuilt defibrillator.
Yeah. So when these incidences happen, you need someone to shock you back to life. Basically, what this device does now is when or if that ever happens again, that will just kick in automatically, so you wouldn't need to wait for someone like that. I've heard it's not a nice experience because you're alive when it happens and you feel that shock, but hopefully I never need to experience one, but that is there just in case.
Yeah, well, of course, hopefully not. And as you say, just to reiterate, you are taking it sort of day by day right now almost, and waiting to see how this story finishes, because you're only 29. He's still playing at 38, 7?
Nearly 39. Yeah.
Great goal yesterday as well.
Yeah, brilliant own goal, yeah.
So there could still be a lot of football.
Yes, and like I said, I would like that, but there's no way I'm going to go against any medical advice I receive. So, like I said, it's way too early to put a time frame on anything at the minute and make a decision at this time. So yeah, it's nice to, obviously I've been sat at home doing like Legos and jigsaws and DIY, getting the baby's room ready, but it's nice to get out, like we said, go back to training, and nice to come and join you guys today.
Tom, medical advice aside, how big a conversation is that to sit down with not only your girlfriend who's just about to have your baby, your mum, your dad, your brother? How big is that side of it as well? Because as you said, you're the athlete, you can almost take it on yourself, and you handle everything on your shoulders. But knowing that they've watched you on the sidelines and stuff like that, and the emotions that they were going through, how much will that play into your decision as well?
Yeah, it will. And in the past, I may have been quite selfish in decisions I've made. I think we all have been as athletes that, I'll do what's best for me. And you almost forget about your family. But now, having seen what they've had to deal with my situation, and obviously the baby on the way, it's made me almost feel a little bit guilty in the past for some of the decisions I've made. Obviously we all want what's best for us on the football pitch, but obviously, like I mentioned, the family always has to come first, and that's made me realise that maybe I have been a little bit selfish in the past.